Hi Divyanshu, can you hear me?
Hello,
Hello.
sir. Good morning, sir.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
Okay, so let's wait for a couple of minutes. Let's wait for others to join.
Morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Ayush. Hi Ronit, how are you?
Morning, sir. I'm good, very.
Good, good. So is this triple ITD in the background or what is it?
Yes, sir. It's a triple ITD logo.
Oh, good. So when did you come? Oh, okay,
I
got it.
came on the 31st.
Mm-hmm.
There were a lot of students came that day, and like we had a bunch of fun. Like just seeing the campus and seeing the places we'll be staying for like the rest 4 years. So it was really amazing.
Okay, wonderful. So what did you like most?
So the lecture hall complex, like that building, is just amazing.
Okay. How
And
about the R&D block? You didn't see that?
yes, I also saw that, but we were not allowed to go inside. So the lecture hall complex looks the best from outside.
Okay, great. Yeah, it is indeed good. It is indeed great. Yeah,
We were
so
allowed to go in the sports complex for a bit. So
mhm,
it is also amazing. So like we saw the squash court and the gym, all are like
mhm.
top of the line.
Yeah, so they're amazing. In fact, I mean, a number of students using that. So, and if the class would have been in person, I mean, you should have probably attending the class in the auditorium in the lecture hall complex itself, because accommodating 300 students, I mean, that is the only place where we conduct the classes.
Yes, I can imagine that would be an whole other level of experience.
Right, right, right. It is indeed a great experience. Okay, so we do have some. Okay, so what happened? No one want to join class today, or still the previous class is going on?
Sir, maths class is still going on.
I think so.
Nothing.
So actually doubt clearing session is going on in math class.
Mm-hmm.
But sir will leave them in a while.
Mm-hmm. Okay, no issue, no issue with that. Hmm. So when this doubt clear session, is it after the class or last 10 or 15 minute for the routing?
So
What?
last 10 or 15 minutes type.
Okay, 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 good. So meanwhile others are joining. So meanwhile others are joining. So did anyone attend the tutorial on Monday? Anyone from you?
No, sir, I think we
Yes, sir.
had communication. I mean, I had communication.
Group 5, 6, 7 had tutorials that day.
Yeah, yes. So
Uh, yes.
anyone here from group 5, 6, 7?
Yes, sir, me.
Yeah, so Ayush, yeah, go ahead. How was your experience?
So actually it was fantastic for me since I had never thought what is good design or bad design.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that is the aim, right? That is the aim. So
And
why I can see two Ayush? Is that you joined from two devices?
sir, actually my laptop's audio is not working properly.
Okay,
So I had joined also from mobile for audio purpose.
okay, okay. No issue with that. Okay.
And so it was the first time in life I thought about the micro problems around me and wrote about it.
Yeah, so exactly. I mean, that is the aim we are planning in this semester. And even when you go for the project, we want you to basically think about the different problems around you and try to propose some solution. And based on what you are going to learn, so is it good design? I mean, what are the bad design with this? I mean, how you can basically improve the design, whatever the design concept that you'll be design process that you'll be learning as part of this class, and whatever the things we'll be discussing in the tutorial and so on.
Okay.
And anyways, yeah, so I think we can get started. Let's go for a bit quick recap so that I mean others will join in the meanwhile. So let me get started. So I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, sir, we can.
Okay, wonderful. So let me get started. So again, good morning everyone. Welcome to the class of Introduction to HCI again. And I hope you're doing good. And I believe the first class and the tutorial went well. So feel free to share your feedback and any other comments that you have. Yeah, so probably we can get started with feedback. So anything in the class or tutorial you want us to change, you want us to improve, because I think it's good to take early feedback in order to incorporate in the upcoming classes. Any comment? Anyone?
Sir, I really liked your way, how you teach us with like memes and real life examples. Like that's something I would like you not to change, and in
Okay,
fact, like add in more of that. We
sure,
like
sure. I will be, thanks for the feedback, and I will definitely try to keep that. And so I believe, I mean, in my lab itself, there is a number of such problems we are working on. And I believe I don't have to struggle much in order to get those examples videos. So like in today's class as well, I will try to show something. Yeah. Anyone else?
Sir, we still the math class is actually still going on, so
Can
a
you?
lot of us are just switching in between.
Yeah, yeah, no issue. But ठीक है, as I said, I mean, until they are joining, we can probably take more feedback, suggestions, comments. Anyone else?
It
Morning,
was
sir.
Yeah, good morning.
So people will be joining now.
Yeah,
yeah.
no issue.
Good
No
morning,
issue.
sir.
Yeah, good morning. Yeah, so I believe, I mean,
Yeah,
if
sir,
people want to,
exactly.
if people want to take a break or so, I mean, they can go for a 2 minutes, and probably we can probably wait for another 2 minutes to start the class. But for another 2 minutes, we can discuss any other feedback that you have.
It was just a really fun class, sir, yesterday. It was
Okay.
awesome.
Okay, cool.
Yes, it was. Yes, the
Okay, wonderful.
interaction was very good.
Okay, good. So yeah, so I mean,
Sir, I
uh,
Sir,
wanted
do
to
we have
ask.
to keep our videos on?
yeah, yeah, yeah. You should keep it on so that we can see. You can see me. You can see me. I mean, yeah, it's good. It's your choice, yeah. As I said earlier, I mean, I don't have any compulsion on you. I mean, you are free to attend
If
class.
we
You,
wish to not switch on our videos, then it's fine by you, na?
yeah, yeah, I'm perfectly fine here. I don't.
Ah, then it's cool.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's
Sir,
yes,
Sir,
yes.
I
fine
wanted to ask,
if
what
we
exactly are we going to study here? DES mein?
What exactly we are going to study
Study, yeah, IHC mein.
in SCD?
HCI, HCI.
SCI. So here, I mean, the course is about introduction to SCI. So how the human computer interaction work, what is human computer interaction, how it is used in different interactive devices or product that you see, because as we discussed in the last class, right? I mean, how the good and bad design lead you to lead you to success or failure of a product, right? In order to, because in daily life you interact with a number of interactive devices, like as we discuss about Alexa, we discuss about smartphone, we discuss about ATMs and so on, right? So if you don't involve the human in the loop, I mean, the product is going to fail because you don't understand how the human behave, what is the human expectation and so on. So that is exactly we are going to discuss in all over the class, what are the different aspect of human computer interaction, how you can basically provide a better, you can say, the product, interactive product to the people. So what are the different concepts, what are the different, you can say, the I mean, the aspect you need to consider in order to provide a better solution. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, I got it. Thank you.
Okay, good. Anyone
Okay.
else before we get started? Okay, I think we can get started because okay, so thanks everyone for joining again. So let me do a quick recap before we proceed further. And meanwhile, probably remaining people will be joining because they just finished the course and previous course and probably taking required physical break. And okay, so those who haven't joined, because I still see probably 10 to 15 people haven't joined the Google Classroom yet. So this is the class code. So I request you to please join the Google Classroom, because all the resources and all the useful information will be shared at the Google Classroom. Okay, so feel free to drop me an email if you have any questions. First, try to get it clear by the TAs. If it is still not resolved, so please let me know. And please mention ISCI, the abbreviation like Design 101 or ISCI in the subject, so that I mean, it grabbed my attention, because I used to get so many emails and it's very difficult for me to follow those if you don't mention the correct subject title. Okay, so that's about me. So yeah, so feel free to ask any questions in between as well during the class. You are free to attend. You are free to go anytime. You are free to ask any question in between. Okay. So just a quick update. I hope you have already met a number of amazing TAs that we have as part of your course. I believe you met Ria, you met Mayank, you met Kanupriya, Dipti as well, right? Or not? I'm not sure. Anyways, yeah. So just quick, small change actually. So we have now two more TAs, Divyanshu and Anis. Rest of them I already introduced in the last class. So they will be replacing the other TAs that I have mentioned in the last class. So let me welcome them. So I believe both Anis and Divyanshu is here. So Divyanshu, why don't you go ahead for a quick introduction?
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Shah. Hi, everyone. I'm Divyanshu. I'm final year computer science and a graduate, and I'm really looking forward to interacting with you guys. Thank you.
Okay, wonderful. Anish.
Hello everyone. I hope I'm audible. My name is Anish Bhardwaj. I'm a final year computer science and design student. I've been working in HCI for the last 2.5 years now, and I look forward to our first tutorial session today and interacting with all of you over the course of this semester. Thank you.
Okay, great. So thanks, Anish and Divyanshu. So yeah, so as you already know, the groups 5, 6, 7, the tutorial was already held on Monday. And so today we'll be having tutorials for group 1 to 4. So join, please join the meeting, join the tutorials. I believe we have already updated the links for different tutorials. So feel free to contact respective TAs because the TAs details is also mentioned there. Okay, so as I said, let's do a quick recap. So what we have discussed in the last class, what is the introduction to this particular course, what are the evaluation grading scheme, and other part, what are the course and schedule that we have. We have also discussed about the need of good design and bad design. So probably Ayush, you were attending the tutorial and probably was very happy because as you mentioned, uh, without this probably you won't able to do. Can you quickly just mention your learning? What is the need of good design?
So I learned that the need of good design is to convey our message or product to large scale and to every consumer or user which is using it, and to avoid the confusion or problems which they can face while using our product or our services.
Okay, cool. Anyone else want to add? Probably
Good
we can
design
go.
makes the life easy.
Okay.
So,
Can you give one example how the good design make your life easy? Just take any interactive product.
Like nowadays we are having a two-in-one furniture which we can use in like sofa come bed.
Wonderful. Very good example. Uh,
so
any other comment from anyone? So
So
Bhavesh, you
may
want
I?
to add?
good
Yeah,
design,
Bhavesh, please go ahead.
good design makes
I
the
think that
product
good design is
self-explanatory.
important in order to reach a large consumer base and in order to make the product accessible to as many as people, because what we need to keep in mind different limitations that the consumer might have, and in order to facilitate those kind of aspects, we need to include these things in our product. That will in turn result in a good design, because everybody will catch the idea behind our product, and it will be more useful in the general sense. Like the way we intend to do might be different from what the consumer intends to do with the product. So in
Right,
order
right. Yeah, very, very
And
nice. Sumit, you want to add anything?
yes,
Yes, sir. And basically, the good design always try to fulfill the maximum favorable criteria of the consumer, and it will help us in our daily life as well.
Okay. Krishnan? Krishnam?
So good design helps the consumer to use in an easier way. If it had a bad design, then consumer would face lots of difficulties in using it. So good design helps more and more consumers to come and use that product because
Okay.
it is easier, very easily accessible because of that good design.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay,
good
Khwaish?
design.
good design makes the product self-explanatory for the user.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like a good it's like if we talk about compute programming, a good interface makes it more easy for the user to understand what the program is about. Hence,
Mm-hmm.
a good design would help the user do the same thing.
Okay, very nice. And what is the drawback? Because I see more hands. So let's probably switch a question. So what is the drawback you can see with the bad design? I
So
mean,
I need
don't
to
just
answer
repeat.
this or others.
Anyone? Yeah.
Loss in market.
Loss in market. Okay. Anyone else?
Bad
Sir,
question.
wastage of resources.
Wastage
Sir,
of
it can.
resources. Yeah,
Sir, for
that's
Sir,
true.
example, sir,
Won't
for
be accessed
example,
by
our
everyone.
campus, sir, our campus has a good design, so we are using a compact space to like put everything, and like that's an amazing place to be.
Yeah, very nice. Very good example that you given. Yeah.
There
So
is
we do
yesterday tutorial we got an example of remote. Two kind of remote.
Yeah.
One is Alexa remote and other one is simple remote. The simple remote has lot of feature, but we are not using most of them.
exactly,
So
exactly.
that's a bad design.
Okay, cool, cool. So let's get probably go ahead with the rest of the talk. So yeah, so probably we can interact with the remaining student in the further discussion. So what is HCI? So we have already discussed what human computer interaction is. Just for a reference, let me play a small video, and that will basically just do a quick recap.
What exactly is HCI?
I hope you can hear the sound, right?
HCI stands for Human Computer Interaction, which is the study of how people interact with technology.
So Aditya, we can hear the sound, right?
Yes, sir.
Interfaces.
Yes, it's audible.
This includes computers and how people interact with a keyboard, mouse, and monitor to retrieve, process, and search for.
So here, I mean, the person just said, I mean, it's interact with the computer. But though we have discussed in the last class, but I just want quick recap just to make sure everything is on the same page. So does human computer interaction mean that, I mean, we interact with the computer only?
No, sir.
With all
Okay,
kinds of
There are
gadgets.
all kind
all
of
kind of
machines.
gadgets, right?
All
Very,
kind of
very
gadgets.
nice.
Kinds of
So
machinery and all kinds of interfaces or products.
very nice. So everyone is
they are
following.
also
That's
an
great.
electronic gadget.
Very nice.
Information. But this also includes almost all other pieces of today's technologies, such as cell phones, MP3 players, such as the iPod. The whole goal of HCI is to figure out how to design technologies such to make it simple, accessible, and useful.
Oops. So he mentioned simple, accessible, and useful. So are you agree with these all 3 points?
Yes,
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 sir.
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right?
yes, sir.
So did you discuss these
Agree.
3 points in
Yes,
tutorial
sir.
as well?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good, good. So let's go one by one. So I see some raise hands. Ariman, would you like to say what is simpleness in the, I mean, simplicity in the SCI? Aryan, your voice is very low. I can't hear you.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
It is still a bit low. Hello.
Sir, may I?
Yeah, please,
Sir,
Pallav.
yesterday in tutorial class, we came to know that the feature should be added in a device that is 5 plus minus 2.
Mm-hmm.
So if there are so many features in the that also make a complex that also increase the complexity. Hello,
Okay,
am I
okay.
audible?
Yeah, yeah, nice. Okay, so for example, you have given the example of Alexa remote. I mean
Yes,
the
sir.
Amazon
Yes, sir.
remote and the normal remote that you have. So
Yes,
I
sir.
believe you can see the simplicity, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So this next part is accessibility. Anybody want to comment on that? Pallav, you already said. Jay.
Well, regarding the previous point, we can use voicemail just like Alexa,
Mm-hmm.
and we can basically like in TV remotes we have core controls. Then we can go into that and we can select menu. For example, we select movies, and in that we can select channels instead of using other controls.
Okay. Yeah. At least the first interface, the first interaction should be simple, and let probably the user go into more details over the time. If you throw all the information at the I mean the launching itself, I mean it's very difficult for any new user to follow, and even for the, I mean, not only new, even the old user, it's very difficult. So for example, I mean, if I get the old remote of TV, I mean, it's very difficult for me to follow what is where and so on, right? And some different companies have different remotes. I mean, it's very difficult if it has so many functionalities, so many buttons, and so that's nice. Yeah. So yeah, so next part is accessibility. Anurag, you want to comment on that?
Yes, so accessibility, as in with whatever the interface is being provided to the user, with the minimum effort, the user should be able to access the information. The effort on the user side should be minimum, and
Is
the what?
it is it
Oh, sorry, sir.
is it what you're saying?
Yeah, yes, sir. Like the with minimum efforts, the user should be able to access uh, the
Not exactly, actually.
information.
Not exactly. Anybody want to comment what is the
Sir,
accessibility is?
it should be available to everyone very
Exactly.
easily.
Yes,
Exactly. It should be reachable. I mean, it should be accessible to as many as people as you want. I mean, so like it should be available to poor. It should be available to say rich. It should be available to say I mean Africa. It should be available in say rural. I mean, it's basically accessible in as many as people as you want, as you can, right? So accessibility is mainly about that. And the
Excuse me,
last,
sir.
yeah.
Sir, accessibility, if we just broaden our horizons from just economically speaking, we could also say that, people with disability are able to use it. So that is
Yeah,
also
no, that's true. I mean,
included.
yes, yeah, it is included. It is very much included. So I was just giving the example probably on probably the locality economic. Yeah, so disability is also included. You are very much right.
So,
Anybody also want to add anything? Yeah.
yes, sir. So in my tutorial class, we discussed how a $300 million button changed how Amazon was accessed.
Hmm.
So like Amazon used to have this restriction that if you want to search their website, you would have to log in or register to access their website. But they removed that button that you can not be a user on their website, but still access their products or like check out the website,
Right. So
which
do
made them
so
$300
do
million.
right. So do anyone know? I mean, do anyone know uh, what patent Amazon has filed? I mean, what is the key idea behind I mean the Amazon's business?
So
Sir, the
that was
recommendation thing, it
one
gives the
click
recommendation.
transaction, sir.
Sir,
So
to
it
make
is
things
not sort of
Wait,
accessible to the people.
wait, that's nice, but yeah, so let's raise hand, otherwise it will be chaos. So yeah, so just to give a chance, yeah, Rishabh, you want to say something? Yeah. Rishabh, you want to say something?
No, sir. Sorry.
Okay, no issue. Nakul, yeah, you want to go ahead now?
Yes, sir. So Amazon patented it by saying that it is just a click away.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just a click away. I mean, earlier you used to do a lot of things. I mean, do that, and fill the details and give your card, and probably you also need to go market and so on. A lot of things. So I mean, his patent is about just one click away. I mean, just one click you can get the product delivered at your home, right? So that is that has changed basically the whole e-commerce business, right? So this is something similar that you can think how basically he made the all the product accessible any to everyone, anyone, and from any place, right? So is it clear to you?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
good. So the next part, so what are the 3 points I mentioned? Simplicity, accessibility, and third point is
Usefulness.
Usefulness.
yeah.
Usefulness.
Okay, so who want to explain? So Ronit, probably you want to go ahead. So just to give some new hand, Aishani, would you like to go? What is the usefulness is about?
Yeah, sure. Basically, when we are designing a product, should be simple enough so that the users can easily understand what it is, and it should be user friendly, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And in terms of yeah, it should be like a one-click solution.
Yeah, yeah, just kind of very simple. It's usable, and
Uh,
uh, yeah.
I forgot the second and the third point. Just a minute.
Mhm.
Simplicity. Um,
Simplicity, accessibility, and usefulness.
Accessibility. Basically, it should be reachable to everyone. It shouldn't just be targeted to 1% of the population or just the rich people or something like that. It should be applicable to everyone's daily lives and the other areas of their life, basically. And
Okay.
it should be it if it is usable in more than just one way, then it makes it even more versatile and better for usage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And yeah, so that is what it means by usability. That's the third point. So
Okay.
the more ways you can use it in, the more audience it can reach, and the better the product will be.
Okay. Very nice. So Amolika, so I believe you haven't spoke so far. So would you like to say something? Anshak, you want to say something? Anshak Goel. Okay, probably the last person before I go next. Anjali Sharda, you want to say something?
Sir, regarding usefulness, no?
Yeah.
Sir, I think a product should be useful in the sense that if we can add 100 options to it, but if most of them are irrelevant, then it doesn't make sense and it would end up as a bad design. A good product should have maybe a limited features, but they should actually be useful and not totally irrelevant or just to add extra features or to look good.
Okay, very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Sir, I
May
have a
I? Sir, may
question.
I?
Yeah, please raise your hand. I will give you a chance. So, yeah, so who want to go next? Who is there? Shahash, is
Sir,
that you?
as someone earlier said about convertible furniture,
Mm-hmm.
so the thing is, we should make such a design to make the maximum usability of a thing.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Tanuj.
Yes, sir. Maybe the good product must be useful for different people according to their different needs, which can fulfill their own needs, and it can be a good product and useful.
Okay. Okay, so yeah, so all of you have added very, very nice points. So let's go ahead now.
Sir, may I?
Yeah, Arjun. Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, product can be useful in HCI when it is not frustrating or confusing to other users, and it is easily accessible by a small boy to an old age people also.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So it is accessible irrespective of the age, irrespective of
Any
locality. Yeah.
yes, sir.
Sir, can I
Okay.
ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Sir, is premium subscriptions a part of bad design? Because that will limit the accessibility to a lot of users.
The thing is, I mean, uh, it's good. Probably it may be a bad design for in terms of accessibility, but I mean, you also need money to run the business. You also need money to support the business, right? Provide the feature. That's why the premium accounts are there, right?
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Sir,
that
one last point I would like to add.
Yeah.
Sir, I'm Yash. Sir, I wanted to add to the point of Anjali as she said that the things should be not irrelevant. I mean, the things should not be irrelevant because, sir, in the market a few days back, some curved smartphones came. Sir, they didn't add to the usefulness of it, and they were just for the for showing. So usefulness adds when we add some features to the processor of that smartphone, not by making it curved. So that's what I wanted to say.
Okay. Okay, so with the interest of time, let's go
I have
ahead.
a question, one question.
Yeah, Harsh, please go ahead.
So, as we were discussing that the design should be simple and accessible, but if we look at a plane's cockpit, it has so many buttons, so many controls. So it is not simple, neither is it accessible to anybody but the pilots who know how to control the plane. So are we going to say it's a bad design? Because it is useful, right? We
No, no.
can.
Look, I mean, if I mean the cockpit is there, it is should be accessible to the type of person who is going to use, right? Cockpit is not being used by the common people, right? So ideally, you could say, I mean, it should be accessible to any pilot in a sense, whether it's old or just recently a new pilot. It should be accessible for a pilot from say Africa or probably from Singapore or probably from India, right? So
I mean, like we make designs so that they work even in an exception, right? So let us say that the pilot and co-pilot, by for some reason, get unconscious. So are we doomed because nobody else can control the plane? Like if there is no other pilot on the plane.
look, I mean, whatever the design we have, honestly, I haven't seen the cockpit in much details, right? But anyways, I mean, whatever the design is there, no one is saying it is perfect design. And if you see, I mean, it is also evolving over the time. So now and also, I mean, the things are changing, right? I mean, earlier, uh, probably there were only pilot were there, right? I mean, if you see, I mean, then they realize what happened, what if the pilot, something happened to pilot. That's why they added a concept of co-pilot. And later on, I mean, probably I'm sure, I mean, after the co-pilot, I mean, probably the other staff, at least the cabin crew who is there, I mean, they also have some knowledge or probably accessibility to the system, to the cockpit and so on, probably.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Yeah,
So can I add something to the point?
sure.
So the usability and the accessibility of the product is mainly based on the target audience we use. Not all products can be should be accessible to everyone because that can be
Yeah,
dangerous to other people.
yeah, exactly what I said.
So the
Because for example, gun, right? I mean, you can
yes.
say, I mean, everyone want to have gun, right? No, I mean, it should be accessible to
We
the
should go to
authorized people.
America then.
Yeah, it should be to authorized and probably I mean, who are the people should access it, right?
It can be used only for the good.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, good, bad, whatever, I mean, but yeah, that should be well defined. So in that aspect, I mean, we discuss about SCI. So after
An important subset of
usefulness,
HCI is
so
value sensitive design.
so in SCI again, there are several further streams are there. So one is called value sensitive design. I will quickly show what the value sensitive design, and then probably go for the rest of the lectures.
What makes a piece of technology usable? Again, simplicity, usefulness, and accessibility are among the key traits we strive towards in usability design. HCI caters design to the people with the goal of making today's complex technologies more usable to as many people as possible. For example, accessibility is important. We want to find what we want in the fastest and most intuitive way possible. Like on the web, the most usable websites have the most important information and navigation near the top of the page, followed by menu links specific to the page on a left or right menu underneath. Most websites now also have search, which contains a search box near the top of the page with a search button immediately to the right of the box. These are all ways to make the website more accessible, while keeping the concept simple and useful, and sticking to some well-known conventions.
So probably we can skip this part. I believe
The
we
TED
have just got some good overview. So yeah, so what is SCI? So I believe you can see, wait a second. Yeah. So SCI is the kind of strength and tradition of SCI, that is that has been its human centeredness. So we try to keep human in the center, so that because any interactive system or the thing you are going to build is for human, right? And unless you won't consider the limitation and or probably the requirement of the user, you are not going to probably help the person, right? So that's why it's a human centeredness and the usability concern that is the key of any SCI system. So SCI has evolved methods, guidelines, principles, and standard to ensure that the systems are easy to use and easy to learn, right? So these are the some key point. I mean, you always I just want to add one thing here. So whenever you are studying SCI, you often probably get, you may get confused whether SCI is same as interaction design, whether it's the same as user experience. And so often there is a very, not very, you can say, the clear distinction between many of them. So often people say, so interaction design is a more a broader term, SCI is a more, you can say, specific term. But now, I mean, over the time when SCI is also getting much attention and the research work, I mean, it is also probably getting very similar to interaction design and so on. So that just that keep in mind. I mean, often you'll see different terms interchangeably used for others, or probably at least in very similar context. So what is user experience? So user experience focuses on having a deep understanding of the users, right? Because what they need, what they value, what their ability is, and what is their limitations. So when you're talking about user experience, you need to consider all those points, and unless you won't somehow address these points, you are not able to build a good SCI system, or probably you cannot provide a better user experience, right? So UX has basically emerged during the internet era to emphasize the enjoyment and the engagement of the whole interactive experience. So interaction design. So how do you optimize the user interaction with the system, environment, or product so that they support the users? So activities in effective, useful, usable, and pleasurable ways. So it's more, you can say, the broader term as compared to SCA, but here basically we try to optimize the users interaction, because in a way, I mean, we want to do two things, right? Here basically using human computer interaction, we try to basically the bridge the gap, or you can say we want to provide a better communication and interaction among human. And many times in order to provide that, you introduce computer or any other device in between to provide that, right? So ID has basically come from more design schools and applying traditional approaches to design that emphasize research, insight, and critical reflection to improve both interaction and the communication between people. So as we discuss about designing of interactive system, yes, please go ahead. And
Sir, what does that a critical part mean actually?
Here?
Yes, sir. So, the last word, critical reflection.
So insight and critical reflection, like because we discuss about the limitations of anyone, right? So when I say the critical reflection, so my understanding is that, I mean, here uh, we need to basically think of what are the things are uh, giving a good, you can say, the good 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 sentiment or probably good experience to the user, and what is not. And if you are building a system, you need to basically build your system accordingly, right? Because for example, let's take a designing of smartphones, right? Earlier the smartphone used to be very big, right? And probably it's not very smooth, and even the glasses are very not very, you can say, good. I mean, if it just fall down once, it broke, right? But over the time the people realize, I mean, we need to improve upon these, and because they are basically giving a better understanding, basically giving a better experience by providing a smooth phone, and probably it's not too heavy, probably it's the battery time is bit high, right? So considering all those points, I mean, if you emphasize on the research, insight, and the critical reflection. So what are the what are the things which are critical? So for example, if you are building a banking software, right, so it should be secure. That is the most critical thing you need to consider, right? Otherwise, I mean, the people will loot you, right? I mean, they will just take all the your money, higher, I mean, critically earned money. So am I making sense here?
Yes, sir.
Anis and probably Divyansu or probably other TAs, if you want to add anything here.
No, sir. We are good. It's good.
Okay, great. Any other questions before we go next? Yes, you have any questions?
No,
Okay,
sir.
okay, good. So yeah, so we are here, we are in the last class we discussed. So here, I mean, what is the ultimate aim of SCI, right? I mean, we want to basically apply SCI concepts and guidelines and the different thing that we discussed in order to basically build or design a good interactive products, right? Because end of the day, I mean, in our daily life we use different interactive product to facilitate our work, right? So what are the things we need to consider in order to basically build any of designing of any interactive system? So if you see, the UX and ID, user experience and interaction designs, are more concerned with the development of novel applications, visualization and auditory display and the responsive environment. So that's why we need to consider SCI here, so that which is about design for these experience in a human centered way. So whatever suppose you are using some novel app or a visualization or auditory display, how we can make it more human centered way. When I say the human centered way, because for example, so if you want to communicate among two people, what are the different ways you can communicate? Who want to add? What are the different ways you can communicate?
Email.
Email, okay.
Verbal,
Verbal,
body,
So,
I mean this
face
speech,
expression.
Messaging, direct call,
direct
Zoom,
call, Zoom, okay.
Some coded messages.
Video
Google
Okay,
Meet,
conference.
Shagun,
letters.
text. So text means SMS, right?
Expression.
Yeah. So do anyone know, I mean, how the SMS was invented and why the SMS was invented?
If it's problems, I guess deaf or people with speech problems.
Exactly.
I'm not sure
Yeah,
which one.
so basically the SMS was invented mainly for the people who have probably speaking impairment people, right? The people who cannot speak. Later on, I mean, since it was so convenient, so it was included in most system, most especially you can say the smartphone and probably other system. So ideally, I mean, mainly it was invented for those people, but later on, since it's based on its usability, and it also basically add the accessibility aspect of the smartphones or probably any phone, where okay, so you can communicate with the speak on phone, but if you cannot speak, I mean, you can communicate through the SMSs. Yeah, so this is what we mainly have to consider. So SCI is about how to design these experiences in a human centered way that takes account of human abilities, like what they can do. For example, if the person cannot speak, probably the SMS can help. And preferences, because many people probably they prefer say high volume, or probably some people prefer low volume. Probably we can probably think about other for example, some people have not short eyes, I mean, probably not very good eyesight. In that case, they probably prefer bigger font as compared to the probably young student, or probably people, they don't prefer probably too big font and so on, right? So basically, to ensure that the systems are accessible, usable and acceptable. So whenever we are going to design any interactive system, so if you see, we are always going to basically take the best part of SCI, UX and ID. So basically, designing of interactive system aims to focus this emerging discipline by bringing together the best practices are and experience from SCI, UX, and ID. So this is uh, you can see SCI you have here, so that is interact with the different disciplines, so like SCI, computer science, ergonomics, engineering, design, sociology, ethnography, cognitive science, psychology, and so on. So based on that, I mean, you can build any interactive system to deal with. So for example, can you give any example uh, about which basically include SCI, or probably requires SCI for building any system for that? So for example, design for engineering. So for engineering, one example could be say banking software, right? Say for psychology, can anyone name a system for that? In how, what interactive system you can make for psychology? Anyone?
Sir, walkie-talkie maybe.
Walkie talkie. What you'll do with walkie talkie for psychology?
MRI scans can be counted as
Like
brain related.
we could have an app which can, record our, whatever problem we have, and then it can look at a database and give us possible solutions for our.
Okay.
Sir, Alexa is a good example of psychology. It can
So we can
detect your
also
mood.
have surveys
Artificial
type.
intelligence.
Yes, sir. AI,
What
sir.
are the
The story
symptoms and the
has
condition you
Okay,
are
okay. So
facing?
one by one, please.
Psychometric
Yeah,
tests which they do, they take our fingerprints and then they
exactly.
scan.
Yeah, so that's very good example, Gurmehek. And so someone has given the example of Alexa. So it's kind of, you can say it's a kind of speech language technology, isn't?
so sir, how is fingerprint related to psychology?
So for example, I mean, someone is telling lie or so, right? I mean, there are several information. I mean, you can basically check through psychology. So probably, yeah. So fingerprinting may
Or
not be
Sir,
directly, but
sir, an
Sir,
app
so
can be
like lie
used.
detectors,
heartbeat monitor.
so
sir,
please one by
stress
one. So
stress
please,
monitor.
yeah. So please raise your
Heartbeat
hand, then
monitor.
speak. Yeah. Otherwise, it's very difficult to follow. Yeah. So I can just simply ask. So Varun, you want to say something?
So just like there is an app named Forest, so it helps us to maintain our time. It shuts down all the other applications that we are using at that moment, so that we can particularly focus on a task. And I think that's good for people who are procrastinating about things. So that's influencing our psychological and mental health. So that I think that's good.
Yeah. So even, I mean, if you see, I mean, these days a lot of work is there which try to determine whether you are suffering from mental disease or not. So whether are you suffering from say PTSD, are you suffering from say bipolar disease, are you suffering from say depression, right? So based on that, I mean, that you can also infer just looking at your facial expression, and that you can also infer by just looking at your the way you communicate. I mean, particularly in my lab, I mean, the people are basically predicting your personality, whether you are extrovert, introvert, based on your the way you communicate, right? So there are several ways, and we are basically adding the human computer interaction part there, so that you can automatically determine whether the person is, what is the personality trait of the person. So can anyone give the example where suppose we determine the personality trait of some person automatically, so where and what are the system and where what are the application where this can be useful?
Sir, interview HRs.
Wonderful. That is the best example. Anyone else?
Sir, for
For theft purpose.
military purposes, it
For
can be
Military
used.
We
purpose.
can monitor
theft purpose.
people and like predict if any of them are going to like commit any crime based on their activities on online and like offline.
Social media.
So career counseling.
Court
Yeah. Very nice. I mean, all the examples, all the application that you're telling is very good
Sir,
example.
sir, Google can also be. It is thought that Google takes information about one regarding what they search and what are their psychological thinking that they require anything. So it also takes information about them and use that.
Mhm.
Sir, sir, one thing can
So
be
we
done. Sir, one thing can be done that on an app, certain questions are being asked, and those are situations to which that person is reacting. So, with the advancement of AI, the app can judge his facial expressions if there is any sign of fear or insecurity.
Very
Sir,
nice.
sir,
That
for
is procurer.
Yeah,
psychological
Bhagesh.
analysis, sir, so there are some we can develop a software that takes into account the like the pupil dilation, the heartbeat sensor, so various parameters that a person goes through, or the expression or the emotional changes a person goes through can be detected, and according to that we can design a software and write an algorithm that can detect various emotional changes and offer therapy, or offer help to a person just like a normal psychologist would do, like in order to replace that person. Like not everybody can afford a psychologist, but everybody might get access to a open source software.
Very, very nice. In
But,
fact, I mean, there is a lot of research which is going in that direction.
but
So
there are
Tanis, you want to?
watches
Yeah.
in the market with ECG feature in that.
Okay.
So even the Arogya Setu app,
Mm-hmm.
they ask questions and then they tell you whether you're safe from COVID virus or not.
Many times, I mean, yeah, so they may not be the real solution, but yeah, but at least people are working in that direction to solve that. Okay, so let's go ahead next, because yeah, so yeah, we can take more question in between. So as we have discussed, basically we are basically designing any interactive system mainly for some social interaction, right? So social interaction is increasingly important for any user experience and interaction design. So how you can basically do the interaction, hearing, haptics, right, and other ways of perceiving the world are considered alongside the psychology. So here we are talking about social interaction. Can anybody tell me whether the interaction and communication is the same thing or different thing?
Sir,
Okay, so we have some
I
hands.
think it's different.
Satya,
Okay. Okay, so if it is different, then probably who want to answer?
So can you
So
please repeat the question?
yeah, I'm going to repeat the question. So probably Hitesh, would you like to answer? Yeah, whether the SCI, whether the interaction or communication same or different. If it is different, then why and what do they have?
I just wanted the question, not the answer. So someone else can answer.
Okay, no issue. Yeah,
The
Anya,
interaction
would
is
you like to answer? Sia, yeah, please go ahead.
So I feel interaction is mainly for the information and facts that we want to acquire from the person, and communication is the two-way process. Like each other person tries to know about the other person and they communicate and share feelings and what they personally feel.
Okay, somewhat correct. Anyone else want to add anything?
So interaction is basically how a user can deal with the product, while communication can be said how a product relays its information to the user.
Sir, basically, interaction is a broader term and communication is a part of it.
Okay, how come?
So because you can interact in many ways without communicating that.
Exactly.
So we can
So
interact with nature but cannot communicate like that.
okay,
So
that's
communication is basically when we exchange information between two people. Interaction is a more
Even
widespread kind of thing in which you can just basically get to know the other person without necessarily exchanging information.
So, communication and interaction can differ in broadly. Like the main difference between both of these things is that, interaction might not be limited. Like our goal should be that the interaction should not be limited to the kind of person or the level of education or disability. Any factor that might differentiate two people should not differentiate the level of interaction they have with something. Like communication might be a barrier oriented stuff, but interaction for an ideal product should be same for everybody, so that that should be a goal, so that
yeah,
can be the
yeah,
Sir,
nice.
difference.
in my view, when we share factual information, that is actually communication, and when we share our opinions and thoughts, that is interaction.
without
Okay.
even communicating, interaction can be done even by observing a person. That's
Mhm.
also a type of an interaction only.
Hmm. So just to brief, just to summarize, I mean, all of you have said very correctly. So yeah, so as you said, I mean, interaction is a more broader term, or you can say kind of superset of communication. So in communication, we mostly try to pass some information, right? We usually want to share some information, and in interaction basically it has more effect. When I say the effect, I mean probably so for example, so we can say give that book to me, right? In communication you just talking about this message, give that book to me. But interaction can be done many ways, right? For the same content, give that book to me, give that book to me, give that book to me. I mean, here basically you can have several effect in a sense. I mean, you might be angry, so it's more like when you say give that book to me, it's more like, I mean, polite. I mean, ठीक है, नहीं दूंगा तो भी चलेगा, right? But when you say the same thing in probably high tone, so it means give that book to me, अगर नहीं दोगे तो I mean जान जाना, right? So it's more threat. I mean, there are several ways. So when we say the interaction, and probably also someone has mentioned, so often you don't have to, if you don't have to many times say something to basically communicate. So for example, when I say give that book to me, but other person basically just raise his eyebrow, नहीं दूंगा क्या कर लोगे. So many times he can say नहीं दूंगा, but many times he just raise his eyebrow and you understand, no, he's not going to give me. If I will force him, he will beat me, right? So it's more, interaction is more about yeah, so giving some effect by some your act. So that could be gesture, that act could be raising your eyebrow, that could be anything else, right? So is it clear? Okay, okay, nice. So we discussing about someone has given the example of Alexa. Someone has given the example of Alexa. So Alexa is more speech language. Okay, it's not pathology directly, but it can be used in that sense as well. So suppose we're talking about a speech system like Alexa, how usable it is.
Sir, what is pathology?
Pathology, I mean, it's more when you're using for healthcare. I mean, probably not consider the probably the healthcare the system, but consider any. So for example, okay, so let's talking about speech language pathology. How can you assist? Can you basically assist a person in communication who cannot speak? Or probably the person who can speak but not very clearly. I mean,
The vibrations of
have you heard of some disease like aphasia? Have you heard of something called dysarthria?
So there are products for people who cannot speak properly. The gloves which can convert the sign language into voice.
Yeah, that's nice.
or the
What kind?
vibrations of vocal cords can be used.
Yeah, so what kind of sign language you're talking about?
So the hand gestures.
What if I don't have hand as well? Because when you have the upper limb paralysis, you cannot even I mean use your hand. You cannot speak.
Sir, muscle
Something
movement
like
or
what
the
Stephen
facial
Hawking
muscles,
uses.
so sometimes, or the eye expressions can be used to
Eye
derive,
expression, very nice example. What
and
else?
the
The
muscle movement of
haptics,
the
the
cheek
haptics of the
joint.
hand, like what Stephen
Sir,
Hawking uses.
Morse code is like by using your eyes or like stuff like that, light or stuff like that to communicate with others
Yeah,
without
yeah.
actually.
So eye is one of the very good example, and probably what you are saying. What else in the face you can use in order to communicate with the person? Like your vocal cord is not probably good, you cannot utter
Lip sync.
sound, but you can do
Your
lip sync, right?
eyes,
Lip sync.
your expression through your
Lip sync
eyes and
can
stuff.
be
Or facial muscles.
Yeah, facial muscles, lip. Someone has said lip movement, and so on.
Stephen
So
Hawking
Stephen Hawking's
yeah,
had
yeah, very nice.
Hawking.
So let's go ahead with the rest of the slide. So what are the strength and weakness? I mean, definitely when we are building any system, it may have some strength, it may have some weakness. So for example, here talking about speech language pathology, right? So here basically we are going to build a system which probably can help the basically the people suffering from aphasia to communicate better, right? So for example, one of your probably you probably don't know, but you will get to know soon. If you want, in fact, what we can do, we can if you want, I can share more details. So here one of my student is working on to help the people suffering from aphasia, right? How they can basically better communicate, because they try to say something but they cannot utter. So for example, in there are several types of aphasia. So in one type of aphasia, suppose they want to say cat, despite they want to say cat, but they produce the sound bat, mat, right? I mean, so other person will hear, okay, he said bat, but in fact he mean cat. Can we do anything on that? So one of my in fact two of my student have worked on this problem and produce a very good research paper out of that. So yeah, so if you want, I can share more details on that. Okay, so let's go next. So as we discussed, so you have SCI. SCI is in center because you need to keep human in the center, its limitation, its ability, its requirement, so that you can solve different problems. So for example, we are talking about speech language pathology. So what are the modality, what are the information that you have that can basically help you in solving the problem? So someone has mentioned about eye, someone has mentioned about lip movement. So in that direction, so basically you have some visualization, interaction, and data analysis to finally come up with solution. So in that sense, let me quickly discuss visual speech recognition. Do you think this will be useful for speech language pathology? This will be useful for the people who cannot speak,
Yes, sir.
right? So here basically what we are doing lip reading. So lip reading is recognizing what is being spoken from a video input only without any audio. So one thing is clear, that this system, lip reading system, will be very useful to the people who cannot speak. But do you think this can be useful for the people who can speak?
Yes, as a surveillance thing sometimes.
Surveillance, very nice. How it can be used in surveillance?
The
CCTV cameras don't
police
capture the
can figure
audio.
out.
What a great thought. Yeah, indeed. I mean, as you see, I mean, CCTV everywhere around you, right? But you don't know what the people is talking. So you can definitely use in surveillance. But what is the side effect of that?
The position of the person with respect to the camera can be different, so we need
There will
to
be privacy
observe the
concerns
There's
also.
also
Exactly.
privacy.
There will be huge privacy concern because, for example, you are talking to your girlfriend, and of course, you don't want other to hear, right? What you're speaking to, what you're speaking about, right? So yeah, so there is some
Sir, we
privacy
want,
concern as well.
sir, excuse me,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah.
Sir, actually, sir,
Avis.
during the last slide, sir, you mentioned that one of your students is working for on a project in order to help people with uh, what
Aphasia.
was it? Aphasia.
Aphasia.
So, sir, you said that those people like want to say words like bad, so they instead they say something like mad or something
Yeah,
similar.
yeah.
So, sir, like can we use something like machine learning or take into account the error
We use machine learning, by the way.
and
So we have proposed machine learning based AI based solution for that.
yeah, so you take into account like the level of error that might be like plus minus like this, and you take into account various data sets for that, right?
Yeah, so we had a data set. We had a, I mean, well-known data set. There is something called Aphasia Bank. So Aphasia Bank is one of the very popular data set created by the expert, and so they have, I mean, a lot of data in that. So because as part of research, man, many times you have publicly available data. Many times you don't have access to. In that case, you have to create. So in our case, I mean, we have used publicly available data, but that is one limitation, is that we have used only for English because no data set available for Hindi. So in our case, we also want to collect data for Indian languages. So for example, how to help the probably aphasic people who speak Hindi, right? I mean, so anyways, I mean, once because our solution is more language independent. So once, and probably it only required the data. So once we are done with that, I mean, once we have the data for Hindi speaking people, it should be able to help.
So what is the accuracy like right now?
So that I don't recall at the moment. Yeah, but again, I mean, that is also on ongoing work that we have. So if you want, I can we can discuss further over this. Yeah, yeah, but definitely, I mean, the accuracy won't be too high. It should be not more than 70-80%, right? 70-80. I did not say 17 or 18. Yeah, but it would, because for example, we are working on lip reading, right? So for instance, in this case, we have accuracy of close to 75 or something. But you soon realize 75-80 probably sounds, probably, I don't know whether it's a less or high to you, but you soon appreciate how difficult these problems are. And even getting 75 to 80% accuracy is quite high. So let's go ahead with that. In the next few slides, you'll realize that. Okay, so lip reading is about, I mean, Yeah, so we were discussing how it can be useful to the the people who are normal. In that case, yeah, so one example someone is given about surveillance. Another thing could be say entertainment. So for example, do you know which is the first mute movie in India? Anyone?
Alamara.
Arey wah.
Alamara.
Arey wah.
Yes,
So it's
Alamara.
Sorry
okay,
sir,
but
sorry, it was the first sir पहली बोलती film थी sir, mute movie नहीं थी sir.
Harishchandra.
Raja Harishchandra was the first.
Sir, Raja Harishchandra.
chalo badhiya. So that is, it means the people are in the mood of playing game, right? They want to play some quiz. So why not, in the same sense, let's play some game. Okay, so let's play some game, and this will be very similar to Kaun Banega Crorepati. So like in the Kaun Banega Crorepati, you have some lifeline, you have some 4 option, right? So let's play the game, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to play a video and you have to read what the person has said.
Yes.
Okay, so are you ready? So computer G has given you 4 option. So this is a very simple question. First question. So you can say a question of 10,000 rupees. So you have confidence, conference, concerns. अरे यार question तो दिखाने दो, उसके बाद हाथ उठाना.
Sir, we have to raise the hand.
Yeah, of course. So let me play the video. Okay. So you need to focus on the lip movement, and you can simply just type, because if everyone is going to say, it will be difficult. Or you can unmute yourself as well. It's fine. Yes.
Confidence.
Confidence.
Okay, so it seems like most of the people saying confidence, and some people say concern.
Conflict.
Sir, conference.
So it seems like confidence
Option
OP.
B. All of the above.
Yeah, it seems like confidence OP. Most of the people are saying confidence, right? Confidence overpowered. But is it? Do you think it's a confidence?
So conflict is the word.
So let me play the video in slow motion, because that is the first you can say the lifeline. Yeah, so I cut the just 50-50. I use 50-50 option. So I'm cutting confidence and the conflict.
Conference.
Let me play the video in slow motion, and then you say. Yes, I'm going to play the video in slow motion. Yes.
Conflict.
Sir, conference.
Confidence.
अरे भैया, as I said, yeah, confidence and conflict is already strike off.
Concerns. सर लिप मूवमेंट में एफ नहीं आ रहा, वो एफ के लिए फिर वो लिप टच होंगे भाई.
Another lifeline.
Concern है क्या? Concern है.
Okay, 10,000 कौन जीता सर? ये तो नहीं, 10,000 तो मिलेगा ना. किसी ने भी बताया नहीं अच्छे से. चलो अगला क्वेश्चन फिर से दोबारा होगा. तो ओके,
अकाउंट नंबर दे.
हाँ, अकाउंट नंबर मैसेज कर दो.
Yes sir.
Let me play the. I hope you can see the video.
Conference.
Can you hear?
Conference.
Yeah, the person is very clearly saying conference. So if you see here, our model, so our AI model is able to tell you the lip movement correspond to the conference with 65% accuracy, 65% confidence. So as you can see, how difficult it is for human, right? Then how difficult it would be for computer. So at least in this case, our model is performing way better than human, right? Despite we are getting 75 to 80% accuracy for this, but still, as you can see, the most people are not working well. So now I hope it's you can say it's more practice question. So let's go for 10,000 rupees question now. Okay. So this time again, you have 4 options: spatial, sponge, desperation, and speech. Let me play the video.
Speech.
Can you repeat the video?
Seems like there is a.
Sir, repeat the video. Sir, repeat the video.
Sure. So it seems like there is a tie between spatial and the speech. Okay,
Computer, please play the video again.
sure, sure, sir. Here is it. Computer ji hang. Okay, let me play again. What is the issue? Okay, so it seems there is some issue with the computer G. Okay,
Play the
so
normal version. Play the
Let's
normal
go
version
with
once again.
you want to
speech.
so as
Yes,
Speech is right.
We are right.
What is this? British
Yeah.
pressure.
so okay, so
Inflation.
so all the people who said speech, fight among yourself and let me
Yay.
know who is the winner, and we'll get back to him or her.
I'm
Dheeraj is the winner, sir.
I am the
Dheeraj is the
winner.
winner.
Distribute.
winner winner.
Sir,
Chalo.
sir.
Okay, so this was very easy question, right? So let's go for a difficult question, because I mean the speech and probably the conference at least in the speech part, I mean since you first question you practiced, now the speech was very easy. Let's go for a difficult question, right? So
Okay,
let's go
let's
for a
go for
difficult.
it.
So since it's kind of difficult question, so this time I'm not going to give you 4 options, because just like for computer don't have just 4 options. They have a huge vocabulary of words, right? So yeah, so over to you. I'm going to play the video. So tell me which word the person is going to say.
So once more, please.
Sir,
Sure.
please repeat.
Sir, he
Africa.
said Africa.
Yes,
Africa.
Africa.
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
African.
Africa, sir, he said
Africa.
Africa.
Okay, so this is incorrect answer.
Africa is not even there.
Africa
So
is
let
not.
me
Africa is not even the option.
no, Africa
Yes,
is here.
Africa is there.
Africa is there.
Okay.
Okay.
But this is not Africa. Let me play the video again.
Difficult.
After
Sir, affected. Sir, affected.
Sir, I think he's saying after.
Sir, America.
America.
Absolute.
Let me play the video in slow motion, because
Level.
it seems a difficult question. So let me play the video in slow motion.
Level, sir. It's
Oh,
level.
Level.
Let me play the video in slow motion because it seems difficult, right?
Slowly.
Level.
Level.
Level नहीं है.
Level.
level.
नहीं है.
Level.
It seems difficult to many people.
Level.
It's a,
Level.
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 affair,
11.
affair.
Fair.
it seems difficult to many people.
Yes.
V is coming in middle.
Difficult. The V.
It's affair
Difficult
or
is also.
Looks
It's a fair.
It looks like
Level.
difficult.
My password is
Level.
password.
Level, sir.
My password is password.
It's like level.
He said 11.
It's level or clever.
Affected.
And difficult.
Mind games, right?
No, I'm saying
Difficult.
I'm saying my password is password and this word is difficult.
And difficult is difficult. Difficult.
A clever is option or not?
Difficult.
Difficult.
Difficult is difficult.
Yeah, so the word was
Difficult.
difficult.
Sir, just one thing, sir. Just by the lip movement, we cannot tell, because the place where our tongue touches our mouth or the teeth, that makes the voice, sir. So just by this.
कैमरा तेरे मुंह में देखेगा.
Lol, bhai, lol.
I hope you can see here. I hope you can see here how difficult it was, right?
Lol.
Yeah, so it was indeed very difficult.
Lol.
Yes, please now silent. Please mute yourself. Yeah, so please mute yourself. Yeah, so thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed this particular thing, but at the same time, you also appreciated how difficult the lip reading is, right? And also, I mean, many words which are, you can say, your lip movement is same, but maybe difficult word. I mean, the different words. So for example, when I say million and when I say billion, the lip movement is same for both words, right? So these are again the limitation of this particular work, and we are in the process of again working. And at the same time, I mean, probably someone is mentioning about the lip movement and the because many words probably coming spoke from the here, probably inside and so on. So yeah, so I mean, all the accent, all the phonemes that you have to consider. So
But we can use the context of the sentence to guess more correctly, right?
exactly. So for example, the context can help you in understanding that. So for example, when we are talking about, say, million or billion. Suppose before we are only talking about million, right? So probably it could be, but it may not be the best example. You can think of many others. So these particular work, I mean, we are working on lip reading for last 3 years, and we have published never several papers over this. So these are some results, I mean, that we have, right? So you can say, I mean, for lip reading, we have produced based on your lip movement, we understand what you are saying. So we generated the word, and we also produce the sound. I mean, in our another work, what we have done, because okay, so one thing, the you can communicate, okay, so based on your lip movement, what we do, we generate the write the word just like SMS. But do you think it's a more human way? No, right? You also want to say the word despite you do not able to speak, but still you want to say the word, right? Can you do something like that? So how many of you have seen the movie Samitabh?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Right?
Yes,
So
sir.
can you build a system something like that? So here, I mean, the hero cannot speak, but the you can say the sound of you can say the sound of Amitabh Bachchan is somehow produced based on the lip movement. I mean,
Yes,
the
sir.
he's only do the lip. So
Yes,
here
sir.
we have basically done very something similar. So what we have done, based on your lip movement, we generated the sound as well, which is in sync with your lip movement. Because you can say, I mean, there is already some system. If you just give a text, I can produce a sound for that. So that will be more automated. So that will be more automated sound, right? And it won't look realistic. It won't look natural, right? So in that case, probably you need a system which also look realistic, which also look probably you can say the real. In that case, I mean, the generated sound should basically basically it should be in sync with your lip movement. So in our work, we have done very similar and produced some good papers out of this.
So, but in Shamitab movie, two people were required to make the system successful.
Yeah, so that's why,
Yeah.
so yeah, that was the limitation. So with our system, with only one person we can do. So in that case, I mean, Amitabh has to say something.
Yes,
I
sir.
mean, in our case, I mean, that Amitabh will be our AI system that we have built, right? So only based on your lip movement, we will generate the sound. What did you say? So if you want, I can show you some videos, or probably I can show in the next video, next class, or probably simply go to Midas YouTube channel. You'll see, I mean, a number of videos which are available. And the key thing, that is not only for English. We have generated the sound, we have performed the lip reading not only for English, we have also done for Hindi, we have also done for Chinese, and it is working fairly well. It was working fairly well. So yeah, the key is understanding of the user. So you need to consider what people are good at, what people are bad at, what are the people's ability. Consider what might help people with the way they currently do things. So for example, we were talking about communicating with probably a person who cannot speak. Can we probably improve that experience by producing a system like just we have shown visual speech recognition system, which basically perform the lip reading and the speech generation or the reconstruction based on your lip movement, and you can basically communicate with the person. Similarly, we are talking about a phasic patient, right? I mean, he wanted to say bad, but he produced a sound mat. Can we auto correct it? Can we basically, despite he say mat, I mean, we show, I mean, he meant bat, not mat, right? So thinking through what might provide quality user experience, right? So we discuss about different aspect of user experience. So listen to, and again, I mean, one thing you will realize in this particular course, we will be repeating many things very often. And it's more like if you repeat many things many times, I mean, it will be somehow, uh, will explain the things to you in better way. So listen to what people want and getting involved in the design. User sent, so that is what people want and getting them into involved in the design. So it's more, first part is talking about what is the requirement, how they want, and probably getting them involved in the design. So for example, if Amazon basically wanted to come with pay one click away, right? In that case, I mean, they discuss with the people, and finally they have also involved so many people in their design to basically to basically uh, to to basically involved in the design in order to come up with a better solution. So similarly, I mean, the user-centered technique during the design process will be very, very useful in order to provide a better user experience and so on. So for example, let's take an example. Suppose you're writing an email, right? While writing an email, I mean, what one thing, at least 1 year before, I don't know, probably still, you face which you don't like. Suppose you're writing an email and something happened in between which you don't like. Anyone?
Message not sent.
Uh, what are the BCC and CC lines there?
Okay. I mean, that are useful.
If window gets closed, then it is not saved in drafts.
Okay.
We could not call back an email if we made an error.
Exactly. So this is one of the thing, I mean, often happens like while writing the email somehow by mistake or something, when you hit enter and the email just sent in midway. And similarly, you can also think of an action while communicating on the WhatsApp, right? You're writing something, right? And you somehow hit in between by mistake and half of the message went. You can see a lot of examples. You can see a lot of example where basically whole meaning of the message will change, right?
But in WhatsApp now we can
Yes,
delete.
sir. Very bad condition.
Very bad condition. Has anything like this happened to you? Anyone would like to share your experience? Like suppose you're writing something and the message was sent in between, half of the message went, and which probably totally changed what you wanted to say. And earlier while writing this and such email, you don't have any other option to call
Yes,
back.
sir. Like sometimes, many of the jokes, they are like very offending in the beginning, but the punchline,
Right.
like then send the first part and not the punchline, the other person can be very offended.
Right. I hope you're not going to read that joke here. Anyways, thanks. Siddhant, please.
So sometimes, like we forget to attach the attachment, and we have
Exactly.
written that we have sent the attachment, and then we cannot call it back.
Yeah, at least it happened to me many times before, but thankfully based on the feedback and based on the thing, so Google now has, in fact many email system has now this feature. When you have a word attachment in the email, just because when you attach anything often you write, I mean, please find attached CV for your reference, right? So whenever there is attachment in the email, I mean word attachment is there, and if you don't have anything in the attachment in the mail, often it basically remind you, right? So that at least over the time they have fixed this issue. But at least recently I have at least since last few months I have seen Google at least has callback email. I mean, if you suppose sending an email and if you immediately undo it, then probably it will be called back.
Yes,
Has you seen this?
it gives you like 30
Yes, sir.
seconds
Yes,
to
sir.
revert
Exactly.
back the email.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Step
So
also we can delete the message.
yeah, but do you know, I mean, this particular undo action has been proposed in design concept in 90s itself. Then why it took so long, basically company like Google and probably many others, and there are many apps and applications and the system where undo option is not there. For example, you might have seen a very recent case of JE admission, right? A student who took admission in IT Bombay and accidentally probably
Withdrawed.
he
Yes, sir.
withdrawn, and then case
Yes,
went
sir.
to
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Yes, sir.
Supreme
Yes.
Sir, it
Court, blah
wasn't
blah
an
blah,
accident.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
right? I'm sure, I mean, that might have happened with the accident if
Not
he had.
actually.
Sir, no, sir, it's not an accident. There's too many steps.
Okay, no, that's true, it's too many steps that I'm aware of, but still probably the person was very curious, he just wanted to see what is happening. If
That
he
that
has undo option of 30 seconds that you're talking about, he might
Maybe
have,
he was high.
yeah.
so that can't be said to be a bad design. It was actually a good design that there were so many blockades in place to prevent that kind of thing.
Right. I mean, I'm just giving a probably a recent example that again may not be the best example, but just giving an example, right? I mean, ideally undo things should be there at least otherwise, I mean, you are kind of not forgiving the user, right? Right.
Yes, sir.
So
Like until very
Maybe
recently, you could not even edit your tweets, but now,
mhm.
like Yeah, like you cannot edit tweets, so that may created a lot of confusion.
Or maybe
Right,
it is
right.
patented something.
So, excuse me, so
I guess it's
as you said
harder
that the
to
Google has
change
a
the
feature
database
that
again for
Maybe
the companies.
maybe the person can change their statement anytime, and that can cause some kind of an issue. That's why.
No, but you can add a time limit like Gmail ने add किया. Some
Right,
you
like this, someone just spoke about the Twitter thing. You can edit the tweets, right? So that causes for celebrities, it causes a lot of trouble if they edit even a single tweet.
So
Yeah.
as you mentioned, that Google has a feature that senses that basically reads what we have written in the message, right? In order to tell us whether the word attachment is there in the email or
Hmm.
not.
Hmm.
So don't you think that this raises a privacy concern for people with that are emailing each other regarding some sensitive information and don't have access to their own messaging service, like the Gmail is only
So in
way
fact,
for them to communicate.
this example is nothing. You will be surprised to know. I mean, once you probably book your flight ticket, you'll surprised to know. I mean, the Google will give you alert. Okay, so your flight is at probably 12 p.m. today. Now
Yes,
you
sir.
should try
Yes,
to
sir. I
leave.
have got that.
Right?
Yes, sir. I
You'll be
have got
surprised
that.
to know that. I mean, so yeah. So I mean, all the big companies are basically playing with the privacy of the user, and that's why probably have you heard of something called Cambridge Analytica? Have you heard of the story?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
No, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
so
No,
those
sir.
who
Yes, sir.
those who haven't heard,
No,
I
sir.
mean, you should do a Google Cambridge Analytica privacy leak or something. You'll get to know. I mean, they say basically stole a lot of information from Facebook and so, and then sell it to basically different companies, and different companies can use it many ways. They basically can use it to, you can say, change the election outcome. They can use it for make you biased towards some particular candidate. They make you probably influence toward a new product which may not be quite good, but at least since they have your information, what you are interested and so on, they can basically influence you in buying your buying decision and so on, right?
Sir, they claim to have 5,000 data points on every US citizen. Cambridge Analytica.
Right, right, right. I mean, who knows? I mean, many Indians are also involved in their database. I mean, right? And there, because the Cambridge Analytica is the story that we are aware of. There are many
Yes,
untold
sir.
story, and many companies are still doing. They have a lot of information about us.
It
So
even happened
Facebook
with
primarily does this.
Facebook. It happened with
Facebook has
Facebook
this
All
in
also.
companies do. I mean, probably,
partnership with third party.
yeah, yeah. All companies do. I mean,
So
many companies.
basically, sir, something that all users might appreciate is that the ease of reading of terms and conditions and basically outlining the what the person is actually agreeing to. That is a major concern among the users because nowadays almost every website you need to allow it for cookies. So basically, half of the people don't even know what cookies are, right? So like something like an interactive system or basically what they are agreeing to can be placed in the browser itself so
Yeah,
that people know what they are actually agreeing to, because websites or businesses might not really tell people what actually will they be sharing, what like how will they be tracked. Like for example, sir, Apple tells people to enable their location on every device for even using Macs on their Macs for even using maps, right? So map like what I have noticed recently is that they track people even when they are not using applications related to location. Absolutely no link whatsoever, not even a website that may use geo tracking, right? So that then also they are tracking us. So basically the user should know like what will be the implications of agreeing to this. So
yeah.
that
So
is
for
a design
example,
flaw.
yeah. So for example, earlier what design used to be, I mean, that is fine, because many times in order to use some application, you need to access some resources. So for example, if it is Instagram, right, it's fine. Use my location or whatever, my location or probably say my photo while using the app. But earlier there was no such option. I mean, probably you have just started now application, so now many application has introduced this option, allow these these terms while using application.
Only
Earlier
when
there
the
was,
app is open.
yeah, while app is open. Earlier it was not used to be. Earlier it was kind of just give permission once. Now you go ahead, yeah, I mean, go to hell. I mean, we are going to use everything, right? So again, I mean, design is evolving. I mean, many limitation and the issues that you face over time. And yeah, so designer come up with a better solution, right? So be it like remote example, be it like any other thing that you see. I mean, so for example, uh, earlier, I mean, people only used to communicate through phone, I mean, probably a speaking call. Then probably it has, in order to address the need of probably the people who cannot speak, the SMS has started, but again that has some limitation. Then probably in order to get any information, the speech system like Alexa has come. So now Alexa has kind of, how you treat Alexa. Alexa is something like a person who has ear, or she has ear, right? But do you think speech is enough? Do you
No,
think
sir.
speech is enough for getting any information from a system like Alexa?
No, sir.
So what you can do, can you add an eye to the Alexa as well?
Yes, sir.
Right, right.
Like the data set of all the sign languages can be added so it can track
Exactly,
that.
exactly. So just treat it like, I mean, how about, I mean, to Alexa we give an eye as well. Eye, it means, I mean, just give a camera, so that it also look at what the people are talking about without saying. And because many times happen, suppose I'm at my home, right? I mean, my nephew, my son, my daughter, or probably anyone around me, just keep talking in the background, right? I mean, if I say Alexa something, I mean, Alexa won't understand this, because there's a lot of noise in the background. And because it's not that easy for any computer system to process noisy information, noisy
Alexa is
sound.
confused.
Yeah, Alexa get confused.
Sir, adding an
If we
eye would
add
be
eye on
not
Alexa,
good.
then it will be a privacy issue also
Yeah,
Yes,
because
it will never
Privacy,
hit the
it's a
market.
great privacy issue.
yeah, so there will be issue. But again, as I said, I mean, why not, I mean, make the product more specific? Again, I mean, the privacy issues is everywhere, right? I mean, as we have
Voice
just discussed
cancellation
about
mics
Google.
are better.
No, no,
So
we have just
instead, you
discussed
can
about
put
Google.
something like a lidar
Google is basically
camera.
violating a lot of our privacy issues. So have you stopped
yes,
using
sir.
Google? No, because probably you're getting a better solution. Similarly for the Facebook, have you stopped using Facebook? No. I mean, everyone knows about Cambridge Analytica and probably many other stuff, but no one
So there's
has.
no alternative. That's the main problem.
Yeah, the same thing I'm saying. I
And
mean,
there are no laws limiting it.
the people who cannot speak, they don't have any alternative. They probably
USA
need
has the
us,
control
right?
over
And
it.
probably if you install an Alexa, for example, you install a Alexa type system in bank, at least just go to any nearby State of Bank of India. Do you think Alexa will work there? Whatever the information you, whatever, just
No,
say, I
sir.
mean, Alexa, mera passbook ka balance batao, for
So there
example.
could be robbery.
No
so
bank
for
would allow that.
so for example, I have friend in bank, I mean, he's a manager there.
Rural areas. Can you hear?
So your voice is breaking.
No, sir.
Sir, you're not
I
audible.
can't hear you anymore.
क्लास खत्म हो गई लगता है सर चले गए
Class over हो गई
पागल है
guys.
क्या भाई ऐसे पढ़ना चले जाएंगे
नहीं सर है
नहीं
अभी है
सर
अभी
हैं
सर
अभी
है
अभी।
अभी क्लास हो
है
रही है
अभी
हमारे बीच में ही है.
Sir, you are not
What
audible.
happened?
So can you hear me now?
माइक में
yes sir yes sir we
yes
can
sir
Yes sir.
Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. I'm just saying, I was given an example of my friend has in a bank manager in rural areas. Same person come almost every day or probably at least every week. भैया मेरा पासबुक प्रिंट कर दो, भले ही उसमें कुछ पैसे आए ना हो, बट मेरा पासबुक प्रिंट कर दो. If you have
Sir,
an automated system, right? I mean, there is such a crowd in bank. I mean, for different queries, they reach to the person, and bank also want to automate the process by replacing the human by some interactive system. So वहाँ पे, I mean, the Alexa type of system won't work. I mean, probably they need a better ways.
Kiosks and all are
Sir,
there.
also every like in the rural areas, they have a different accent of saying things. So
Yeah, yeah. So
that
again,
also.
that is another limitation. I'm not saying just looking at the lip movement will solve. Again, I
Sir,
mean, there are
even
several
for
ways.
Siri and
what
all, you have to
security
know the
concerns?
accent in which you're speaking.
नहीं है, सिक्योरिटी कंसर्न तो कई तरीके से है ना, बट
sir
अगर
वैसे like we have passbook machines na in bank.
passbook is
Where-
only for government banks not in
Exactly.
private banks private passbook is optional
yeah
so yeah,
passbook
so the passbook example that I given, I mean, that is one task. There might be many other tasks where
yes
only
sir.
for example,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so I mean, you are communicating, you have different queries, right? I mean, you cannot, I mean, for example, who cannot speak, I mean, in that case, as I said, lip movement can be focused, gesture, the different gestures you can focus to understand what kind of example, what kind of information the person is looking at. Yeah, just to give that information. I believe we are running over the time. Yeah, so I'm sorry about that. So yeah, so take care, have a good lunch. And yeah, so TAs will be meeting you after the lunch from
Sir, do we
1:30.
have any seminar today?
Yeah, I mean, there will be tutorials for group 1 to 4.
No seminar.
Seminar.
Sir, the link would be provided by the email only.
No, the link, just check
Already
the Google
provided.
Classroom, it is already posted there.
Okay,
Sir,
okay.
I'm
Sir,
asking about the
seminar link.
seminar.
Seminar.
Any seminar today?
Sir,
So
what
it
So
did
the
about
till
timetable
seminar?
it's
today.
given
Today's
that
seminar.
is
Okay,
Thank
seminar.
you, sir.
okay, got it.
Seminars.
I got it. So from 2:30 to something, yeah. So usually Wednesday book for seminar, but unless you don't get any email, there is no seminar. So you
What
will get.
about labs?
Okay, sir.
Yeah. So
This week
labs
no
are
lab.
different. Labs are different. Yeah.
These
Tutorials we have.
labs.
Tutorials we have.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
Thank you,
What do
sir.
we do
Okay,
in
sir.
seminar?
Bye,
Thank
sir.
you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay then.
Have a good day, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
Yeah.
you,
You too.
sir.
Take care.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
GG,
sir.
sir.
Well,
Sir.
sir.
Very good,
सर
sir.
आलू पे आ
Thank you,
जाओ सर
sir. Well played,
Thank you,
sir.
sir.
Thank you,
वालू
Thank
पे
Thank you,
you,
sir.
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 Thank you.
वालू
Thank you.
पे